All right, welcome everyone. I'm Amy Hammerly. I'm with the Boone County Economic Development Corporation, and my role here is Workforce and Community Development Manager. So as a part of my community development work, I work with all of our different communities in bringing more amenities, and obviously public art is one of those. So Stephanie Haines is with us again this year. She did a workshop for us last January, and I thought it would be good to bring her back and give her the opportunity to share what grants are available for public art and different things like that. So welcome, Stephanie. And we will get started. We've got a group of about 12 folks with us right now. So I will turn this over to Stephanie, and she's got a great presentation for us. And then we'll have time for questions and answers at the end.
Okay, thank you so much, Amy. Can everyone hear me okay? Give me the thumbs up or get the chat box. Thank you. You never know. In the chat box, I would really appreciate it if I do this, we'd go around the room if we were all together, but if we in the chat box, tell me your name and your organization you're with, the city, if it's, something I should probably know, the city that you're coming from. Great, because I like to know who's an arts organization and who's more of a community organization or an independent artist. And then I can make the presentation more relevant. Let me open my chat. There we go. Just your name, where you're coming from, your organization. Community Foundation's great. Awesome. Great. Juvenile courts, love that. Yes, the ARC. Hello. Sugar Creek Art. Hello. And Aspire. Cool. All right. So go ahead and keep putting those in there if you are in town. Great.
I'm Jeremy South from Ripple Mobile Arts, and I'm joining in.
Okay. Hi, Jeremy.
Hi. I'm an independent artist. I work with Teen Challenge. I've worked with Denise and work with Boone County and various things.
Okay.
So I travel around the area trying to connect with local arts organizations and teen places.
Okay. Yeah, so for those of you, thank you, Jeremy. For those of you who aren't looking at the screen or can't see the chat box, we've got someone from the Community Foundation, someone with the Juvenile Courts, ARC of Greater Boone County, Aspire Indiana Health, Center, Independent Artists, Thorntown Community Development, Sherry Johnson. I'm going to say independent artist, stage, community theater. Am I cutting out?
You're cutting out, yeah.
I'm going to switch to my phone.
We also have representatives from Thorntown as well as Advance, which are two of our smaller communities. And we've got a representative, Mary, from Center Stage Community Theater. And I believe Karen is also with her there.
Yes, she is. She's hiding in the corner.
Thanks for everyone's patience. You know, technology is always challenging.
Tricky.
It's good, but it's challenging.
Forgot Patty was here and I can hear it.
Okay, I am on via phone. Does that sound better?
Yes, much better.
Awesome. Good. Well, that's good. Do some troubleshooting at the beginning. Okay, thanks everyone. It's really great to meet you. I am Stephanie from the Indiana Arts Commission. I was able to do this workshop in Boone County last year. I probably had much shorter hair. This is my pandemic hair. If you can see me on the screen, it's almost it's past my chin now, so that's quite long for me. And I'm happy today to bring this presentation about art grants that we offer from the Indiana Arts Commission. We are a state agency. Let me advance my slide. If anyone needs accommodations for this webinar or for any part of our process, let me know. I'm the accessibility coordinator, and I can help get captioning, ASL, large print documents. Just please contact me. So we are a state agency, the state of Indiana. We get our funding from the state legislature, their budget, and the National Endowment for the Arts. So that there's some federal dollars and there's some state dollars in there. We do these grants I'm about to talk about are our most well-known grants, our Art Organization Support Grant and our Arts Project Support Grant. But we do other things all throughout the year. I have another slide. I'll talk more about the webinars we offer, the entrepreneurship classes we offer for artists. There's other things that we do throughout the year. If these grants aren't the right fit for you, I still encourage you to check out our website and see what else we have going on that might be a better fit for you. So today we're going to talk about what these grants are. If you have applied in the past, I'll touch on some things that are new. We'll talk about the timeline, when you apply, when you get the grant, when you find out about it, all those things. And we'll look deeper at the guidelines, the rules for applying, and then who's eligible and how we determine who gets the grant. So the regional initiative grant, this is what it used to be called, is because we award the grants in different regions. We're talking right now about Region 7, the Central Indiana region, which is these 7 counties in the center, almost all the donor counties. The 2 grants that are in this category are the project grants and the organization support grants. I don't think, other than Mary, and maybe Sugar Creek, I'm not sure, that anyone is an arts organization support eligible person. For arts organization support, there's a few basic criteria. The thing about the organization support grants is that they're general operating, which is great. Everyone wants general operating funds, it's awesome. But we kind of set the bar high to get into that category. You have to be an arts organization, so that precludes community organizations, community nonprofits. So if your main mission is arts, you're a theater, you're an art center, you're a dance company, something like that, you're nonprofit, and you have at least $50,000 of average annual income. So you have to operate at $50,000 a year or higher to get into that category. Does anyone think that they're in that category? Okay.
We hope to be.
Yeah. Sugar Creek? Okay. But not this year, or yes this year? Yes this year? Okay, cool. Well, then I will dabble a little in this arts organization support, but you and I can talk one-on-one about that. I'm mostly focused for this grant workshop on the project grants. The project grant provides funding to a distinct project of a nonprofit organization, and we call it non-arts organization. That just means you don't have to be arts. You can be arts, or you can be a library, a parks department, a city entity, a school. Anyone who falls in that nonprofit or city category can apply for a project grant. And it's pretty simple. It's like you're an art center who wants to do a class, and you want to hire an artist. You can apply for up to $5,000 to pay for the artist, to pay for the supplies, any sort of overhead costs you have that are associated with that. If you're a city and you want to have a mural, like the Johnson County Community Foundation does a mural program. They have a day where they do murals around their community. They get a grant. They've applied several years in a row and gotten funding for the mural day. So It doesn't have to be visual arts. Obviously, you could have funding go towards a performance. If you need to pay the actors, if you need to buy supplies for something, if you need, new lighting, light bulbs or whatever, you can apply for those kinds of project supplies. And in the past, we've said you need to match the funds. So we can give you up to $5,000 potentially, and then you bring $5,000 and it needs to be a $10,000 project. In this year only, because it's a pandemic, we have dropped that matching requirement. So that's going to be later in the slides as well, but I'll just bring that up right away. The arts organization grant, like I said before, you need to be a nonprofit, you need to be entirely focused on arts, and then you need to hit that $50,000 minimum, but that's for general operating funds. We kind of have a new website. If you've been on our website in the past and you're looking for the guidelines, I wanted to show you, we've got our links to our guidelines in those little pictures there. You can click on those pictures and go to the correct guidelines of what you're interested in. And within the website, there's these tabs I wanted to show you. You can go across the tabs on the page to find the actual guidelines and download them. So we went over those. Must be a 501c3 for both the grants. APS, that's pretty much the minimum requirement. You're a 501c3 in good standing with the IRS. And that is it. The timeline for this grant is March 4th. They're both grants, whichever grant you want to apply for, they're both due March 4th, 2021 at 4:30 p.m. It's a hard deadline. The application closes at that time. I do recommend getting it in early because the system could be glitchy right at 4:30 if everyone's trying to apply at the same time. We will then hold public panels, as we always do. It's a transparent, process. This is a government process, and we want to be transparent with the public about it. So everything's public, even if it's going to be online. We'll do a live Zoom public panel. And we have a panel of your peers. Some professionals in the arts community will read every grant, and you'll have probably 3 people reviewing each grant this year, and they will each score, and then we average the scores, and that's your score. So the panel process will happen in April, and then we take it in front of our Board of Commissioners, who are appointed by the governor, and our Board of Commissioners takes the recommendations of the panel, and they then perhaps will approve the grant. That happens at our board meeting in June. So you will know about the grants right away in late June or early July. Let me see if there's a question. Can you hear me okay? Okay, great. I'll try to get a little closer. So the grant period, you don't hear about the grant till July, and the grant period starts July 1. So whatever activities you are proposing in the grant application, your workshop, your production, whatever it is, cannot happen before July 1st of 2021 and must be completely finished by June 30th, 2022. You've got 365 days to complete it. That's the grant period. And all the activities have to fall in that grant period, especially if you're not getting matching funds. If you are bringing matching funds to the table, you could say the matching funds are for the activities that happen outside of the grant period. But if you're just picking our grant dollars for the project, then it has to happen within those dates. And then we pay out in a way where we give 75% of the grant amount up front, so you can do the work, but then we hold on to 25% till you complete your report to us at the end, and then we'll release that last bit. It's just a little incentive to turn in your paperwork, because not everyone loves to turn in paperwork, surprisingly. And so that'll be due after the full year of grant activities goes past. Then you've got another 2 weeks So July 13th, 2022 is when you'll turn in the grant report. So like I said, for the project grant, you can request up to $5,000. It's your choice what to request. No matching funds. You can just ask for our grant when we will ask you to show us a budget. That can just have zero other income and just be based on the grant amount you're asking for. The AOS one, the organization support general operating grants, we determine the amount to give to you based on the size of your organization. You do not ask for an amount for those general operating funds. You just apply to us, and the panel will review and make sure, you know, what level you're doing your artistry, what level your organization's functioning at. And if they say you're doing well, then we'll look at the money we have, the number of people who are approved, and several other things we have in our formula, and we'll determine the grant awards. But it is something around between $5,000 and $17,000 for the AOS 1 and 2 categories. So somewhere in there. For the arts project support grant, I do want to make this last bullet point here to please look closely at the eligible expenses. We have a pretty extensive list that's super specific. The things I've mentioned, hiring an artist, is required. You know, paying for an artist, you have to have supplies are fine. Things like capital expenses. So if you're buying a new computer, that would not be eligible. If you are trying to have a private reception, that's not eligible. Alcohol, not eligible. So there's a list there that will give you a really good snapshot if you're trying to apply for one of these grants. What kind of expenses are okay to use and what are not for our funds. I'll just, because not too many people are looking at the AOS, I'll just say we've simplified a lot of it. If you've ever seen our applications in the past, we know we have quite a bit of narrative. It has a lot to do with the due diligence of being a government entity, but this year it's very streamlined because of the pandemic. So we're really trying to lessen the burden. And instead of scoring for the general operating grants, if you're in that one, you're not getting a numeric score in that one. You're going to be judged as, yes, you are eligible for the grant. No, you're not eligible for the grant, or yes, if you make a few small modifications. So that's for AOS though. And mostly we're talking about APS. APS, you will get a score. There's a minimum score of 75 for APS. So you have to score out of 100 to get a 75 points. You'll see in a minute, the criteria is bullet point by bullet point, 5 points, 5 points, 5 points, and you have to add up. The panel has to award you at least 75 points to get to the next level for consideration. So there's an added priority this year to ensure that the arts projects benefit artists in our communities. Okay, this is just something we've seen artists especially hard hit in the pandemic. And so we've lifted up this priority, gave it an extra 10 points. You'll see in the criteria that your project involves local Indiana artists. And they benefit. So that's a term that's a little bit of a gray area, but we like to say they get paid or they can sell their work in a meaningful way. They need to benefit from this. If you're a returning applicant, I can get you comments from the panelists. We don't share out the exact scores because every panelist has a different score and we average it, but I can get you the comments. That'll really illustrate what areas of the grant were written really well and what areas were not clear. So I can get that for you. If you're new, if you've never gotten our grant before, I can personally review your application just to make sure it's complete. I can't really tell you how well it's going to do, but I can tell you if you've got everything you need, if anything is unclear to me, or if I think you need a little bit more information. So just email me if you're wanting to apply and you're able to get it ready before February 22nd. Okay, so this is just must do. Definitely check out the evaluation criteria like I was talking about. Those 5 points in the criteria, you're going to want to know those really well or have them right beside you while you're writing. your grant application. You just want to answer every question. They're in the form of kind of a question. Does this exist? And make sure you have that in that point in your application. Okay. These are extra resources. If you have questions about accessibility, our grantees, because we have federal and state funding, anyone who receives our funding needs to make sure they are accessible to the public. It's a tricky thing people always get a little worried about. So being accessible doesn't mean you get a $3,000 grant from us and you have to pay for a $50,000 ramp to be added to your building. It's not that. Being accessible is that when someone is blind and they want to come to your gallery and they call ahead and they say, hey, do you have, you know, something for me to feel, then you're going to work with them. You're willing to be accessible. You will make those changes when someone requests access to your programming. That's what being accessible means. Yes, so there's some guidance on our website about some of that stuff, accessibility, which we'll ask about in the grant application. So we already talked about the paneling. We've got scores. Every panelist will give a score. We'll average it. We have, I don't know, 40 panels happening all across the state kind of simultaneously. So then we kind of look statewide to see which panel was generous and which wasn't. It's a very big operation we do. So there's a lot to it, but the basic is you have to reach that 75-point minimum threshold. And then the higher you score, the more likely you are to get the grant. We go, we have two ways we award the grants when it comes to the scores. One, we start at the top score and we work our way down until we run out of money. But also alongside that, we take into consideration the rural counties. In Region 7, Marion County, you know, might have one of the top scores, but before we go to the next Marion County score, we'll go to Boone County, then we'll go to Hamilton County, and their highest score will get one, and Johnson County, their highest score will get one. And then once we've met all the counties, we'll go back to Marion County, and they'll get another one. And so we make sure that every county is represented, and that projects are happening everywhere in the state so that everyone has access to the arts. So high scores are important, but also not everything. Okay. And then, like I said, we have a transparent process and we encourage you to come listen to your grant being reviewed. These are open. You'll get, if you apply, you'll be on our email list and you'll get the link to the Zoom panel and you can listen. You can't lobby for yourself. You can't make any corrections during the panel process. If someone misunderstands your application, you can't chime in, but you can still listen and hear where the misunderstanding was so that either you can tell me about it or in the future you write it a little bit more clear. Okay, so all the grants go through the online system, and many of you might have applied and received our ACDMO grant, the Arts and Culture Destination Marketing Organizations CARES Act grant. So you've already been in our system, but if you haven't yet, we have an online portal, and that's how you submit an application. It's saved automatically as you're typing so that you won't lose, you know, if your computer runs out of battery, you won't lose your application. But there is also a save button at the bottom. One thing it doesn't have is a lot of formatting. You can't use bold, you can't underline things, you can't do bullet points very easily. So just think about that. If you're typing in Word and you want to copy and paste, you're not gonna be able to bring a lot of your formatting with you. And then I'm gonna share straight into show you the system itself. I don't think I did that right. Okay, yeah, can you see the application log-on page? Okay. If you type in www.in ms.gov/art/apply. To use that short link all the time. It will take you right here to the login page. This has the list of all our open applications right now. There's the project grant and there's the organization grant. You can preview these application questions, but if you open this and you start typing your answers, they will not save because you're not logged in. It's a really important point. I have to tell everyone anytime I get a chance, make sure you log in first before you start filling out the application. Can I receive a link to this PowerPoint? Sure, yeah, we'll send out an email afterwards with the PowerPoint and any important links that I shared today. So make sure you log on, or if you're brand new, create a new account right here, gray button. When you create a new account, you're telling me two things. You're telling me, one, what your organization is. So you're filling out the account for your organization first. This is the Sugar Creek Arts. This is the address. This is the phone number and who's in charge. Then immediately, I'm not sure which comes first, but then immediately after, you'll be saying, this is me. I'm Angie, and I'm connected to the Sugar Creek Art Center. So it feels like you're filling out the same thing twice sometimes, but you have two things. You have the organization account piece, and then you have your own login. So you can log in as a person, and someone else can also log in and be connected to the organization. So that's if you're creating a new account. You already have one, log in. Not a panelist. We switch to applicant. Okay, so I'm an applicant. I've logged in. I'm at my dashboard. Right now, I've never applied for anything. There's nothing in here. So I go up to the top and push apply, and it'll bring me back to this application page. You will notice the difference is that now there's a blue apply button in the upper right corner. That's the important button. You want to click apply for that grant, and it'll open up the real application under your name, so it saves under your name. So here it is, the top. We try to give you all the information you could ever need at the top. It's a lot of information. You probably will scroll past, but then come back. If you have questions, come back and look in this section. And it has a lot of stuff in it, a lot of links. Who's your regional partner? That's me. What are the guidelines for the grant? Everything you could know. So there. If you are, let's see, this is ALS. So let me go back and apply for APS. Okay, there's all the info at the top. Then we get going. Do you need a fiscal agent? If you're not a nonprofit, we allow a fiscal agent to apply to use their 501c3 to receive the funds for you. But if you're your own 501c3, just say no. Will you make accommodations? Yes. And then just your basic information at the top. What are you doing? The name of your project, yada, yada. Your mission statement. And then we get into the actual meat of the application. We're going to talk about how your project has artistic quality in the first section. And you'll see on the criteria, the first part of the criteria is artistic quality and artistic benefit. Then the next section is community engagement. You're going to talk to us about how you connect with your community, how you listen to them, and how you respond to their needs through your art form. Upload some marketing materials, your social media links or website links, whatever's best for you. And project management, this section is about who's leading the project, how qualified they are, and the budget, how well the budget's put together. In the timeline, sorry, that's the other thing. How well you've mapped out your timeline. Do the panelists think it's well thought out? So those are the three main sections. Then, like I said, there's an accessibility section. If you have any questions about that, just contact me directly. I talk a lot of people through this section. And that's it. The bottom, submit application when you're ready to be done. Save application if you're going to come back later on it and check on it some more. So when you're ready to be done, submit, and then you can no longer edit. You know what? I realized it didn't have the criteria. Let me go. I want to show you the criteria. There we go. This is what the panelists use to score. They get these exact questions and they give a score 1 to 5 or 1 to 10, whatever it is in each section. Excuse me. Artistic quality is worth 20 points. Artist support, that's how artists benefit from your project. That's another 10 points. Community engagement is 20 points, and inclusion and diversity is 20 points. I'll come back to that in a minute. Project management is 30 points. It's important to us that this is a feasible project, that you can really pull it off. So that is worth a lot of points. Let me go back to the inclusion and diversity, equity, and access. This is a big point for us. The work that we do as a state agency is from taxpayer dollars. It's from citizens, and it's from all citizens. And we want the benefits of these projects to go back to all citizens. So that's why we elevate community engagement and idea work in the grants that we give. Inclusion and diversity, equity, and access. You don't have to do all of them. We're asking you to tell us about a strategy you have that helps with inclusion or diversity or equity and access in your project. One strategy. You can talk about how there's a need for people with disabilities in your community to have access to live theater. So you have talked with a community member and they, told you XYZ, and that's why you have adapted your program to be in a location that's more accessible to people in wheelchairs. Or, there's a million things that you can do that makes people in your community feel welcome. That's inclusion. So if you have more questions on that, let me know. We have a full webinar that's recorded that you can watch about more details about community engagement and idea. But it's a broad category. So look at what we say in some of our definitions here, and I think that'll help you get your mind around that part. And that concludes my presentation. So I'm taking questions now. Questions?
So if you have any questions, it might be easier for you to type them in the chat box, and then we can share them with everyone.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Mine's kind of lengthy, so I'm not a fast typer, so I'll just go ahead and say it.
Okay, that's fine.
We didn't, at our 2019 conference for the clerk treasurers, we had a group of, the Indiana Arts Commission was represented, but several other grant administrator, venues were there as well. And at that time, if I remember correctly, if we applied with the IHCDA, that we could come, is that still applicable that we could combine those, and that's a matching with the community as well?
Yeah, whatever you funding you get from IHCDA is not exclusive, does not exclude you from our grants in any way, if that's your question. And then since we're not requiring matching this year, it's not, it doesn't matter to us if you are also getting funding or not from another state agency. So sometimes some grants, it is really important that you don't match state dollars with state dollars, but this one, that none of that applies to this.
Okay, so we
grant.
can still combine them if we find we have a bigger project.
I can't speak for IHCDA. I don't know what their policy is with state dollars, match with state dollars, but for this grant, it doesn't matter if you're getting their funds.
I'll double check with them. When I spoke with everyone at the conference, they said yes, we could do that, but it may have changed. So I was just making sure. So I'll check with them.
Okay, yeah, fine with me. Yeah.
Thank you.
Somehow I skipped this slide earlier. I wanted to mention this earlier, but anyway, here we have more resources than grants that we offer here. I wanted to mention there's a workshop with Nina Simon, who wrote the book Art of Relevance. It has to do with that community engagement section, and she's giving a totally free, well, not free because we're paying for it, but it's free to you, free workshop about how to be relevant in your own community, or how to use the arts to find what's relevant to your community. So it's going to be a wonderful workshop. So that's one thing. We've got a book club attached to that where you can read the book for free online and then come discuss it with our group. That's the sort of thing that we do that's not grant related. If you are applying for arts project support and you maybe have questions about how to develop a good budget, we're doing a budget webinar, how to put together a project budget on February 10th. That's going to be a Zoom, and we always record these, so you can find it after the fact too. I will include a link to that in my follow-up email. I did want to mention IHCDA. This is probably what piqued my mind. They have a Creating Places grant. Is that the crowdsourcing one, or yeah, crowdfunding. So that's an option. We partner with them. Obviously I don't know very much about it, but we partner with them on that. We have this whole website that's just for artists and their entrepreneurship called the Artist Hub. You can check that out on our website. There's a link, if you go to in.gov/arts, there's a link straight to the Artist Hub there. We run a whole entrepreneurship boot camp every year for artists called On-Ramp. It's a 2-day intensive, and then it's a whole year of follow-up sessions. So you're getting, a business professional helping talk about developing business plans and marketing plans and taxes and how to make a unique value proposition and all these things. So that's one thing we do. We've been doing Regroup for Artists, which is kind of a support group on how to get through the pandemic and still be, productive and centered and making art and making money if you need to. Okay. Okay, I'll try to speak up. Oops. Where did it go?
So I think the
Here.
last question was maybe on the budget webinar with Mia. Is that who's doing the webinar? Or is she doing
the budget webinar? So Nina Simon, I always want to say her name wrong. Nina Simon, the Art of Relevance.
Oh, okay.
That's the community engagement workshop. And the project budget webinar, that's with our business consultant. Her name's Elaine Grogan-Luttrell. She's going to give advice on how to build a budget for a project. So I'm kind of babbling now, but we have this whole list of resources I wanted to point out. If you get connected with our newsletter, if you checked out our website, you're going to see we've got things beyond this grant. If this grant isn't right for you, or you don't end up being a recipient of the grant, there's still plenty more.
Do we have any other questions? And we'll, Stephanie and I both will share more information with you, the slide deck. I'll share the recording, and then Stephanie can also share some of the website links with you directly via email. So I think that will be helpful. Okay, well, if there aren't any other questions, thanks again, everyone, for joining us today. This is great information for all of us to have, either to put it into, work for your arts organization or arts program that you're thinking about, or sharing this information with other folks in the community that might be interested in seeking some grant funding. Public art is so important in its various forms, whether it's murals or acting or storytelling, whatever it might be. It's so important, and it really helps to build community and add value to our local communities here in Boone County. So thanks again, everyone. We will be in touch with you via email probably tomorrow with some more information. And if you have any questions, you can email either myself or Stephanie, and we will try to answer them for you. So thanks again. Be safe, and we look forward to seeing everyone soon in person. Thank you.
Thank you.